with me today is Daniel Södergård. Daniel has a long career in change management and dealing with various aspects of the sort of transformation. He's worked in culture, he works with leadership. So I think Daniel has got a number of things to teach us about, just how one comes to grips with the whole issue of organizational transformation. And Daniel, just to give our listeners some sort of sense of your career, give us a thumbnail. What have you done? Where have you come from? What's been your background?
Yeah. Okay. So I've been working with team development most of my adult life, I guess, and it's stretched from being a trainer in the kids' football team and worked as an officer in the Swedish Armed Forces, trained teams there, platoons and companies. And since this last 20 years, something, I've been in the systems development context, working with governments and private companies. And it's mostly been around how to achieve results and how to make an effective outcome.
Right. And some of the sort of the approaches and technologies that you would have come across in your career.
So we started off with actually find it quite interesting that in the way back when I was in the armed forces, we were talking about something that is in German called Auftragstaktik. I don't speak German, but it's all about setting an objective and giving you resources and training to manage the fog of war. And I was training in that back in 1990s, and find it's quite interesting to see the similarities between the training that I got and the way I trained the soldiers and platoons in that kind of intention-based management, and the similarities with the Agile way of working and the Lean. Okay. So that's where I started off, and then I did the typical waterfall project management, the PMI stuff, and did that for some years, and I was never able to succeed with that kind of thinking and that concept, because we never released on time, we're never released on budget, and the customer were never satisfied. So then it felt like I actually returned home when I came in contact with the Agile ways of working and that concept, and it's more like what I had learned that worked in the armed forces, where we work with intention and attention. So yeah.
I'm assuming that one of the implications of this is that it really is about cultivating sort of autonomy in small groups.
Yes, it is. So it's very much about finding alignment and the balance between alignment and autonomy.
Well, that's really interesting, because most people, very often in the work that I do, people challenge me and say, this stuff, what you're talking about is very airy-fairy. This can't work in a military organization. How would you say? Yeah. How would you respond to that?
So I would say that we have many years of proven track record of that it works in the military, and it was, I think, the concept of fog of war and the, as we say in Sweden, Uppdragstaktik, was based in Germany in the 19th century. And then it was influenced in a lot of the tactics in Sweden up to the end of the Cold War. And it was very much about giving the training, and the understanding the commander's intent was very important. And then it was up to me as a commander in the platoon or the group or the company to act in the intention of the commander. And so I think what I understand and what I see is that there are other kind of cultures in and it goes like in trends. So I believe that perhaps what we see in other countries, like, and what I see was, I believe, has happened in the Swedish Armed Forces when we've gone on international assignments after the Cold War, that we have perhaps moved away from the uppdragstaktik towards more command and control structure, and there we have perhaps lost this experience and knowledge of working with intention and attention. But I think we need to come back to that in the Swedish Armed Forces. And well, I think, yes. So I can see that you can have that kind of criticism towards the military commander, but I think it's based on the assumption that you work with the culture of command and control instead of uppdragstaktik.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. So I think you're right. I mean, you do get there are almost two different ways of fighting a war. And I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the Boer War at all, which is the war between the sort of the Afrikaans or the Dutch, the descendants of Dutch settlers and the English in the end of the 19th century. But there was very poor centralized control with the Boer armies. I mean, the kind of if you didn't like your commandant, you would just go home, or you'd join another commander. I mean, there was whereas the Brits were exactly the opposite. I mean, obviously, hierarchical structure, the whole empire thing, and the Boers really gave the Brits a hiding. I mean, they gave them a run for that. I mean, they lost the war, but it was. They lost the war and they won the peace because they got so much respect from the English. They really gave them a run for their money, and it was almost like these two contending views of fighting, where the ownership of the fight was absolutely at the front of the Boer forces. I mean, the man under arms was the man who was commanding that sector. Yeah. So I think. It isn't true that certain industries or certain ways of like the military necessarily has to be centralized and command and control. So what is it about Agile that talks to this for you? That talks to this idea of cultivating autonomy among groups?
Yeah. So to me, the Agile. What talks to me about the Agile and what is in line, I guess, with my values is the intention of empowering the collective group, working with your intention and your values, and working with commitment, and on that you have a higher purpose, that you're working together with your colleagues, and that energy that can be generated in that. I think that gives me goosebumps when it happens.
So you've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Can you give us a few examples?
It's quite rare, actually. Unfortunately. But what comes to my mind is, of course, what we see in the armed forces, with my history there, where we have, you're giving that care and that attention to your comrades, and you walk in that extra mile But it could also be, of course, in where we work with. What next comes to mind is in the context of we did actually a procurement in competition
Right.
with a large industry, and we were working for like a year or so, and we were working in agile ways of working, but it wasn't software development, but it was we're doing a competition for a procurement with a big complex system, and it was actually, you know, we were working in cross-functional teams, and we were working. We had this, you know, intention. We had this vision of where we were going. We were working in sprints and doing retrospectives, and afterwards, you know, the team where we were presenting, we could, you know, we all felt that we were a part of the result, and everyone could speak, and there was no one that, you know, had the only answer, and that kind of feeling is, yeah, that's an amazing feeling.
But you're saying this is not that easy to achieve. I mean, you've not seen it that often in your career.
No, I'm sorry to say, it's rare, and I believe we still have to grow the culture of you know, becoming vulnerable, not thinking that I have to, you know, put up a shield. I have to have all the answers. You know, I've been there. You know, I've had that concept in my mind as a young project manager. I thought and also as a young officer, I thought I was the one that should have all the answers, and I should be, you know, in control. But you know, that mindset, I think, is still quite widespread, and it's perhaps a result of the, you know, the last, I don't know, 200 years of industrial, you know, development, that we have this command and control structure, and there's someone at the top that is paid high salary that owns all the decisions and should have all the information and all the knowledge, and you know, and so I believe that we still have some time and to travel and to grow the right culture and the right mindset to realize that this is not the most effective way of organizing.
So, I mean, there are two questions that occurred to me while you're talking. The one is that there's a definite implication in what you're saying, that there's almost like a spiritual maturity that's a key component to this. You know, there's like a maturity. I mean, one can refer to it as vulnerability, but it's actually the capacity to forego control. You know, and that's the element that's rare. It's something that sits in the individual, which is rare. It's not like the system isn't right for it. It's like, you know, is that correct? Am I summing you up correctly in terms of your view?
Yes, yeah, it all starts with me, of course.
Yeah.
And showing up and being vulnerable and saying, perhaps I don't know, perhaps I'm wrong.
But as an agile coach, then that's the quality that you're trying to cultivate with the people in the team.
Yes, I believe so, and to be playful about it, and not, you know, we don't want to. I think we still have a lot of culture with shame and blame. So, and as long as we have that, we are having a big impediment to growing that culture of sharing and caring and being vulnerable.
I guess the second question that I have is, as you were talking, there's a further question that arose, but let's deal with the second. Does that imply that you're fundamentally hostile to hierarchy? Is there no role for leadership?
No, no. I should say I'm not a fundamentalist about that. I think that is also putting on a lens of that there's only one way, and that I have the answers. I think that's fundamentally wrong, and then that leads you on the wrong path, leads you to the dark side.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's like Animal Farm.
Yeah. So no, on the contrary, I think we should consider, we should accept that the world is complex, and that there is something that I also learned in the armed forces as a young cadet is that you have to adapt your leadership to the situation. So there are times where you need to take command and you need to give have this command and control way of working. If there's a situation where that is what, so it's all about what the team needs. Sometimes the team needs someone to give them safety and security. The team sometimes needs someone to be direct.
No, if somebody rolls a grenade into the room, then you don't negotiate how we're going to exit the room.
Who goes first? Yeah. No, it's all about taking care of the safety and security of the team, which have given you the power to be the leader of the team.
Okay, so that's kind of, I mean, that in this care and growth model that I've sort of been working with over the last couple of decades, there's two things that what you're saying seem to resonate with the view that I've been trying to put forward. The one is that actually the role of leadership is like parenting. The deliverable of leadership is autonomy. That's what leaders are there for, But in that process, it doesn't mean an absolute foregoing of control. In principle, it's kind of an incremental suspension of control. But that also means that it is situation dependent. I mean, sometimes you're in a new situation that requires the leader to reimpose control, but it's not even in the interest of getting a task done or to achieving a result. It's in support of the member.
Yes. Yeah.
The second kind of thing that comes along with this issue around hierarchy, and it's something that I'm struggling with myself, because my mind isn't made up on the matter. You see, for one of the things that's really missing in organizations that I work with, and the reason why there's so much control, is because there's this emphasis, there's this shying away rather, of the issue of accountability. I can't. So we call the phenomenon the let's not witch hunt syndrome. So I abuse the credit card that I've been entrusted with by the company. I buy a holiday for myself and my family to the Maldives, as I would. And they catch me having done that. Everybody's scandalized. They send me on a corporate governance course, and they take the credit cards away from everybody else. There's an assumption that people only overstep the line because they need to be taught something. Now, that doesn't kind of square with maybe I'm just a cynical South African, but that doesn't square with my experience of human nature. Actually, you do sometimes get people who deliberately mess up, who should be taken outside and slapped around, not taught something. I mean, so there's this sort of shying away from accountability and of discipline that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Well, if you try to cultivate an autonomous group, where does discipline fit into that problem?
Yeah, okay. So what comes to my mind is is self-discipline. So if you so what comes to my mind as well is, to my experience, what happens when people act out of their values or in conflict with their values, they act in self-interest, is due to a lack of a common goal or a higher goal. So if you have a group of individuals that lack this intention, that why are we here together? What's the intention? What's the purpose? What's the value of us being a group together? If we lack that, or I don't buy into that, I don't accept that, it's we as individuals tend to fall back into we all have these basic needs of safety, security, and belonging and dignity, and if there's not something higher value that you and I are here to create, I tend to regress or fall back into self-interest. And then if we combine that with lack of transparency, lack of reflection, I think we all have this kind of more or less occupying ego that will take over, and will act, and we will listen to this, and we will find arguments why this is a good,
that's right
idea to buy this ticket to the Maldives on your corporate business card.
That's right.
But
we justify it.
Yeah, and you will do that, and your ego will find reason to justify that it makes sense, and you're worth it, and whatever. But it's my experience is that it's because of a lack of common goal or a higher value, or lack of what's in it. Why are we here? How can I contribute to that? If we lack that, or I don't buy into that, I tend to fall back into this egoistic,
I understand.
Yeah.
But now, assuming you have, all right, you're a member of a group, and we're all kind of good citizens, but it's not because I'm the South African, I'm the guy who used the car. Right. So assuming I have, what now?
Okay, so what should be? So you should take the consequences of that. I think, and we should have some kind of, if it's like, I'm quite rapid moving into a solution oriented mode there, and that's a conditioned tendency of me. But if we were, if we were together and you would do that, and you and I were partners, I would say, okay, so do we, let's talk about that. Do we have some difference in values, you and I? Is this the way we should be acting, or is this like, what's our team agreement? Yeah, should you be doing that? Do you think that's and we should talk about that, and if we are lacking that kind of, do we need to be more explicit about team agreements? And also what comes to my mind is something I also learned back in the armed forces, is you have this kind of, in Swedish, let me try to translate this, but it's about making sure that you're acting according to your values when you're taking decisions. So it's like, okay, if you're hesitant about taking an action, and if it's allowed, go ahead and do the action. And if you have good reasons, perhaps it's not allowed, but you have good reasons, just do it. And the third criteria would be, can you take the heat afterwards? Yeah. Can you see yourself in the mirror? So I would like to ask you then, this action of yours, would that meet these criteria? Is it allowed? Was it requested, or was it like necessary for you to take that action? And can you face yourself?
And assuming I'm so malevolent, I can say yes to every one of those conditions.
Okay, so you can, yeah. Okay, then perhaps we don't agree, yeah. Perhaps that is in conflict with my values. Perhaps I think that you shouldn't buy this holiday trip with the business card for your family. Then we need to, agree on what should we do about it. Perhaps my value is that you should pay that on your private account, yeah.
Okay.
And you believe that it should. So that's a conflict of interest.
So there's no place in this for you, assuming you were the leader of the group, for you to say you have stepped over the line, get out.
Yeah, definitely.
You can say that.
Yeah, if there was a line defined.
No, exactly.
If we have defined a line saying that this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, then it would be like, okay, so what's the consequence of that? Is it something that do we have a different perspective? Can I trust you? Would it happen again? So and this brings me to another thought that I would like to elaborate on, and that is quite recently I've come to be more observant when I'm in an organization, and then when they talk about people as resources.
That's awful.
It is awful, and what I've come to realize that it's important to make a difference here, and the way you use the words has an impact on your actions. So what is also, I believe, in the core values of Agile, or uppdragstaktik, whatever, is that you have this care and growth. I care about you. I'm here to I'm borrowing your care and growth.
I'm honored. Thank you.
I'm here to I'm here to take the responsibility of the team. The team has given me the authority and the trust to protect the team and develop the team. And with that comes also that I don't easily let you go. Yeah. It's like a family member.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't say, I don't trust you, or leave. That doesn't come easily for me. But that's more perhaps, in the values, Agile values comes like, we're here to grow together, and we will have some impediments, and we will have, troubles along the way. But it's not like I'm not quitting our relationship because we had a shootout. But we're here to grow together and learn. And as long as you have the intention that you want to be along with the ride, I have all the patience in the world. But if you don't have that intention, I have no patience at all.
That's correct. So I'll give you an example. One of we've been doing quite an extensive piece of work on a deep level underground mine in South Africa. Deep level, this particular place, they're mining, I think, about 2,500 meters underground, and it's dangerous work. It's very dangerous work. And there's one of the standards whereby the hanging, the roof that you're under, the excavation you're in, always has to be supported. And there's a certain line of support which is actually hydraulic. They have like these hydraulic props, and that has to be replaced with a wooden sort of pack at some point. And an employee, so these props have to be released with a sling. I mean, so the prop's under pressure, but if you release it, you're under this hanging that's just been supported. So it's dangerous. The hanging can fall on your head and kill you. So the standard is very simple. You go and get a sling. You put a sling around. It's like a lanyard on an artillery piece. I mean, you don't pull the thing. You use a string. So you stand far away and you pull this thing, and then it goes. Then it releases. Now, so long story, but there's an employee gets himself killed because there wasn't a sling in the section, and he was lazy to go and find one and released the jack. And the hanging fell on him and killed him. It turns out that this has been happening frequently in that particular section. Everybody knew it was not the standard. Also, everybody is trained. They knew how dangerous it was to do that. And it was tolerated, So there has to be a point where somebody says, listen, there's no patience with this. You step over this line and you're out of here, because you're not just putting your own life at risk, you're putting everybody in the section's life at risk, So there's, so my experience, Daniel, is that we are trying to create a more egalitarian world. But what seems to be kind of lost in this mix is that, hold on, you do require somebody who makes their voice thick when it's necessary for a voice to be made thick.
Yeah.
There are certain lines, and I think particularly in Scandinavia, my experience of, I've not done any work here of any significance at all, but I have worked with Scandinavians in other contexts, is that you have a particularly benign sense of the social contract, and it's a cultural bias. It comes from, it's a fantastic thing, but not a hell of a lot of people work like that. So this requirement for for somebody to make their voice thick is really, it's very necessary in other contexts, and it's not command and control. It is in the spirit of empowerment. It is in the spirit of cultivating autonomy.
Yeah, it is, and it's taking care of the safety of the group.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love the phrasing that if you have the right intention, I have all the patience in the world, but if you lack the intention,
that's exactly right.
I have no intent. I have no
patience at all.
No patience with you at all.
And that's exactly the whole issue of accountability must be around the issue of intent.
Yes.
And if I see that you've messed it up because you were ignorant of something, but you were really trying your best, I might even still praise you and reward you.
Exactly.
But if I see that you messed up, or even worse, if I see that you've done a good job by deliberately circumventing things that we've agreed on as kind of principal things, like safety in a manufacturing environment, then I will have your guts. I mean, it just has to be like that. So, tell us about a little bit about the kind of, where do you think the big challenges are today in organizations? If
Yes, great question. Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to challenges in organization is actually, we touched upon it before, and it's about accountability. So we, for some reason, we feel threatened when it comes to making commitments, measurable commitments. I see that in so many organizations. When we're sticking our head out and making a commitment, it also means that we could fail, yeah. And I see that in the public sector. I see that in the private sector, that we are reluctant to make commitments. We are reluctant to making statements that are measurables and to follow up on them. And as long as we don't make those commitments, we don't make these measurable key results, and we don't follow up on them, and we don't celebrate the victories, and we learn from the drawbacks, and as long as we don't do that, we will not evolve, and we will not make transparent the reasons why we fail. So yeah, that would be my first reflection.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's almost like a trained cowardice.
What is that?
I'm sort of like a learned sort of lack of courage to,
Exactly.
Don't hold me. No, not here. There.
Yeah, exactly. We did our part. We're good. But it was them, and make it fluffy, and don't follow up on this, and keep busy.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of activities. Yeah. But not talking about the effect or the outcome, but a lot of activities. Yeah, we're talking about resources, and are you occupied?
Yeah. And the issue of AI, how do you think this talks to the world we're going into?
Wow, that's a big question. Wow, that is opening up so many questions, and yeah, that's actually a topic for, I think, another hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what would be some of the bullets of that topic? What are some of the things one needs to consider?
It would be the impact on our societies, the impact on the way we look upon, how we construct work, how we finance our national states, how we look upon full-time employment, social security, the difference between the rich and the poor. It's big. Yeah.
So they're mainly almost big structural questions.
Yeah.
Relating to our current world order.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about teal. This one is Anna said to me, "Have you heard about teal?" And I looked at her like, "What are you talking about? What is it?"
So, what do you mean when you say teal?
Well, Anna has a view that you understand this teal methodology of team development, and I don't understand anything about it at all. So
I read the book by Frederick Laloux, Reinventing Organizations.
Right.
Yeah, but that's about it.
Okay, so it's not something you've deliberately worked with.
No.
All right. Okay.
No.
Yeah. So, because from what she described, I also didn't read the book, so I mean, it's not kind of go further down that rabbit hole. Yeah. So, if you, as a change agent, in an organization, I'm sort of rounding back to where we were sort of maybe 20 minutes ago in this conversation that, you said one of your roles is to cultivate, if you like, there's almost like a spiritual maturity. It's like how do you do that with teams or with individuals? Because I mean, it's not. This is always about an individual. It's not a collective that does that, because only an individual has a soul.
So that's a great question. I think what it comes down to is, as for me as a coach, to create a safe environment where I say, let's do this together. I'm here for you. I want you to succeed. And as long as you want to be along the ride, let's do it together. But you need to commit as well. It's not me that's going to do the work, but you have to have you have to commit to this. You have to have an interest in this. You have to have an intention in this. Otherwise, we can't work together.
Okay. So you as a consultant must be willing to fire yourself.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I guess more or less. Yeah. I mean, if I totally believe in pull versus push. I can lead you. I can lead the horse to the water, but I can't make the horse drink the water. Yeah.
South Africans have a terrible. They said that's not finished. The sentence that you can lead the horse to water, you can't make a drink, but you can shoot the bloody horse. Sorry. But I understand exactly what you mean. I mean, they're kind of like I mean, I've been in situations like that as a change agent in organizations where you know that they're just employing you cosmetically. They've been instructed to employ you by some higher authority. And actually, if they're very happy, if you sit in an office, do nothing, they'll pay you exactly what you ask them for, but just don't ask anybody anything or do anything. No, that's a miserable experience. Daniel, this has been really fantastically helpful. Thank you very much. I do hope that we get to chat again at some point.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. And I would like to learn more about what the work you do and Caring Growth. It really speaks to me and my values.
I can sense that, and I'd be delighted to do that. Thank you very much, Daniel. Cheerio.